How about them Cowboys? Angry Cowboys fan. Born to battle. Some just means we never sell. America's team through thick and thin. When the sun shines bright, that's where we win. Angry Cowboys fan.
What's going on, Cowboys Nation and angry Cowboys fans around the world? Y'all know who it is. It's your man, the Angry Cowboys fan. And as I was scrolling through YouTube, I came across a video from Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio, and he was going over the interview of the Dallas Cowboys Hall of Fame quarterback, three-time Super Bowl winner, Troy Aikman. Instead of making a video on what Mike Florio had to say, I went to the source of the interview so I could pull some nuggets from it instead of from Pro Football Talk. In the interview conducted by Dallas Dialogue with Dale, the panel was asking Troy Aikman about the current Dallas Cowboys team and the involvement of Jerry Jones over the 30-year drought. So we're going to take a listen to the 3 clips that I got for y'all, and y'all know what we're going to do after that. We're going to come back and unpack this raw and uncut. So, angry Cowboys fans, let's take a listen to the first clip from the Troy Aikman interview on the Dallas Dialogue with Dale podcast.
Teams that have not been historically very good, and yet they still make a run. They'll make it to a championship game, or they'll make it to a Super Bowl, and yet for the Cowboys, that hasn't happened. And it's hard to really put your finger on it exactly why, because when you look at the number of regular season wins that they've had, they're probably top 5 over the last 2 decades, right. And yet it hasn't translated into the postseason. And the Cowboys fans, they deserve better. I do know that. I mean, this is the Cowboys, the flagship franchise, and the fact that the Cowboys in 30 years has not made it to a championship game. I mean, that's let alone a Super Bowl. I mean, it's just. It's hard to fathom.
Unbelievable, yeah.
The thing is, Cowboys Nation, the Dallas Cowboys have had some great teams that should have seen an NFC championship game, and that's in my opinion. There were teams under Tony Romo that should have seen an NFC championship game. There are teams that were under Dak Prescott that were good enough to make it to a championship game. The one constant between both quarterbacks is the same GM and the same owner each year. One thing that Troy Aikman's right about is the fact that the fan base deserves better than what was given to them over the past 30 years. Let's just hope that this year is the start for greener pastures in the future. Now let's go ahead and jump into the second clip so we can come back and talk about it. Let's go ahead and roll that clip.
I wanted you to get some confirmation of Dale's opinion, but I mean, I'm asking you, you've been there. Is it the owner?
Well, I think that teams and organizations, whether it's sports, business, I think it all does start at the top, good or bad. I think starts at the top. I don't think Jerry would shy away from that. I think Jerry would certainly take responsibility. He'll take accountability if and when they win, and I think then you have to take responsibility when it hasn't worked out, and it hasn't worked out. I think the interesting thing is I've heard Jerry say that the reason he hasn't hired a general manager is because there are no guarantees, and no one can guarantee him that making a change at GM and replacing himself would guarantee that they would be any better. But if that's your philosophy, well, then you would never fire the head coach either. You would never make any changes because there are no guarantees whatsoever.
Exactly.
But they've been going down this road for so long, and yet it hasn't translated into success in January, and there has to be a reason for that. I'm not in the building. Everyone then has their opinion as to what it might be, but it just doesn't add up. I mean, to me, you have to make changes in how you're doing it. If for 3 decades you've been unable to win back-to-back playoff games to get into a championship game, and then when they've had the number 1 seed in a first-round bye, they haven't gotten out of the divisional round. So it's just 4 wins. I know 5 since our last Super Bowl. I won 1 of those in the following year in '96 when we beat Minnesota at Texas Stadium. There's been 4 playoff wins in 30 years. So It's just unacceptable.
4 playoff wins, Cowboys Nation. 4 playoff wins in the last 30 years. You're right, Troy Aikman. That is definitely unacceptable. But I'm glad that Dale asked that question. No one wants to put any accountability on the owner/GM of the Dallas Cowboys, the same owner/GM that's been with the team since 1989. And people wonder why we've held on to coaches for so long. Some people wonder why we've held on to Dak Prescott for so long. But in Dak Prescott's case, he's a top 10 quarterback more often than not, so you don't want to just get rid of a top 10 franchise quarterback. When it comes to the other positions or the coaching staffs, I feel that Jerry Jones has held on to those people because pleasure gets in the way of football business. I will say this. Troy Aikman is absolutely right when he says that success starts at the top and not in the middle or with the players. The GM has to bring the best talent to the team and not just inject politics into the team building. That's not on the players, Cowboys Nation. That's on the staff. Now let's go ahead and get into the third clip so we can come back and unpack this raw and uncut.
The one thing about it in Dallas is there are organizations, and I've said this many times, there are organizations that want to win. They just simply really don't know how. They don't know what to do. Like they've never won, so they keep kind of trying to figure it out and doing different things, and yet it just hasn't worked out for them. The Cowboys are not in that mold, and they haven't been with Jerry as the owner because he knows why we won with Jimmy Johnson. And I believe the reason we won is because every player in that locker room felt, and I think knew, that Jimmy was calling the shots, that Jimmy was in control of their destiny. So if you didn't do what you were supposed to do by Jimmy's standards, then you were held accountable and you weren't going to be around. And he cut players, and you were around for all that. You saw it, and he was a great evaluator of talent. He drafted those players. He built those teams. He was a tremendous general manager. In fact, I say general manager, he was a tremendous evaluator of talent.
The Dallas Cowboys have won, and they should know how to win. I believe it's been because of Jerry Jones's arrogance and wanting to be the reason why the Dallas Cowboys have won, and not because of the coaching staff. The thing he doesn't realize is that if he approaches the game like he did with Jimmy Johnson, he'll still get recognition because he's the one that put it together, Cowboys Nation. You know what? Y'all ready for this raw and uncut? Y'all ready? Let's get it. Get ready for the Angry Cowboys fans, raw and uncut.
I'm keeping it real. They keep it real. That's real.
All right, Cowboys Nation. If you've been rocking with the Angry Cowboys fan YouTube channel for a minute, y'all would know that I am continuously on the top of Jerry Jones because of this 30-year drought. Some Cowboys fans or fans from different teams will say that Jerry doesn't throw a pass, Jerry doesn't block or catch or run the ball, as if a championship only falls on the shoulders of the players that are out on the field. Every time I hear this, it makes me want to throw up in my mouth, Cowboys Nation. But like Troy Aikman said in the video, success for an organization starts at the top. I've said this the entire time of being a Dallas Cowboys content creator. You won't be able to get to where you want to go if your football team has to fight the front office to get the pieces that it needs in order to succeed. You can have Patrick Mahomes at the quarterback position. If you don't have the pieces around him to succeed, then you won't succeed, Cowboys Nation. I'm not talking about the players that are 1 foot into retirement or the players that Dak Prescott makes a household name. I'm talking about players that have game before name. I'm talking about players that have game before they come to the Dallas Cowboys. The 2026 season has been the only season where I've seen Jerry Jones give autonomy to the coaching staff like he did with Jimmy Johnson back in the day. In years prior, a head coach would be hired and he wouldn't be able to pick the coordinators that he gets. This happened with Mike McCarthy as well as during Brian Schottenheimer's first year as the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Schotty was given Matt Eberflus and was expected to win with Matt Eberflus. Well, we all saw how that turned out, Cowboys Nation. But this year, Jerry Jones has given Brian Schottenheimer complete autonomy over finding his coordinators and those coordinators being able to find their position coaches that would be under them to see if it's fitting. And so far, it's fitting, Cowboys Nation. Machado and the coaching staff have been given permission to establish the philosophy as well as the culture for this 2026 team, and you can see it out on the practice field as well as during that first preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks. You've seen it during the acquisition process as well as the draft this year. The players that have been brought to this Dallas Cowboys team have been players that fit the vision of Brian Schottenheimer and Christian Parker and not what's affordable to Jerry and Stephen Jones. For years, the player acquisition has been predicated on the affordability of said player and not the talent of said player. For years, players have been brought to this team to fill roster spots and not to compete for roster spots. Football intelligence was not a part of the plan until this year. And we've been talking about a change happening within the organization, and that change can only start if Jerry Jones wants the change to start. This is why I feel that Jerry Jones has complete culpability when it comes to the lack of success of this Dallas Cowboys organization over the past 30 years. And I'm not relieving the players of culpability, but I can't put the entire lack of success on the players either. This is why it's so important to understand that when I say team, it's not just the players on the field, or it's not just the players and the coaching staff on the field. It's the scouts going out and looking at the talent. It's the GM that gets the best players that are available and gets them signed to the best contract to help everyone in the situation and not just the team. So if this Cowboys team wants to get anywhere, the last thing that they need to do is expect one player to get them to said destination. They also need to work together as a team, and the coaches and the players need to be allowed to create the culture and the brotherhood so that they can move in one step, lockstep, unison, Cowboys Nation. But I feel that Jerry Jones realized this ever since 2025, when the offense was firing on all cylinders, but the defense, coached by a guy that they handpicked, held the process back. Jerry and Stephen Jones were the ones to pick Matt Eberflus, and the team suffered from the decisions that they made. This is why I say that this year, it seems a little different, because it has to be different if we expect different results. You can't continue to address the team the way you've been addressing the team and expect something different. You have to move different in order to get a different result, and we're witnessing the front office move differently in real time. So is Jerry Jones the reason why this team hasn't seen a Super Bowl in 30 years? To me, he plays a huge part in it, Cowboys Nation. I mean, some people will blame the players. Like I said at the beginning of the video, some people will say that Jerry Jones doesn't throw passes, but Jerry Jones brings the talent and signs the talent to this team. And let's keep it a buck, Cowboys Nation. The same ones who blamed Dak Prescott would have blamed Troy Aikman if he didn't help bring the Super Bowls that he did back in the 90s to the DFW. So let's make this the start of the transition of great football from the Dallas Cowboys that starts with Jerry Jones. He doesn't have to make all the decisions in order to get credit for putting together a Super Bowl winning roster. He'll get a lot of that credit if the Dallas Cowboys can win a Super Bowl, especially after trading a transitional talent and helping rebuild that defense. So if the Dallas Cowboys were to win a Super Bowl championship in the next 3 years, the media would look at Jerry Jones as a genius, even if he allowed the ones that he hired to do their job instead of him interrupting their jobs. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys fan. Cowboys Nation, what did you think about the Troy Aikman interview? Do you agree or do you disagree with what Troy Aikman had to say during this interview? Y'all know how we do. We always talk about it in the comment section. If you're digging this content and you want to help get it out to even more Dallas Cowboys fans, drop a like on this video, share it with anyone that you know is a Dallas Cowboys fan, and if you're on your mobile device and you haven't used them up yet, make sure you hype this video. Doing so could get the word out to Cowboys Nation. They'll come over to the Angry Cowboys Fan YouTube channel and want to become Angry Cowboys fans themselves. And if you are DC for life and you hope that this 2026 offseason was the sign of change for this Dallas Cowboys front office, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you don't miss anything from the Angry Cowboys Fan YouTube channel. Plus, if you're into Madden 27, College Football 27, or Mortal Kombat Talk, check out my other YouTube channel, the Angry Gaming Fan YouTube channel. I'll make sure I put the link to that as well as the gamer tag in the description. But like I've always said, Cowboys Nation, the success of a sports team starts at the top. If the powers that be allow the coaches to coach and the players to play, you can see your favorite team in a championship game. This is the first year that the Dallas Cowboys front office has been moving and shaking the way that they have been moving and shaking. Let's hope that this can lead this Dallas Cowboys team to places that we haven't seen in over 30 years. Some of us haven't seen it all. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys fan. It's time to put this drought to bed. And I'm out. Dang, Angry Cowboys fan, you done made it through the entire video. But if you want more content, you can definitely go to this video right here. Or if you want the latest episode of the Angry Cowboys Fan Podcast, you can go right here. But whatever you do, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, but remain DC for life.